Keep Climbing, a very fun and challenging game. There's tons of game modes and side levels that make the game fun and active. You know, before Average killed it with lack of updates. Anyway, Keep Climbing is also a very difficult game. But what if you took away one of the core parts of the game, the floor? In this video, we'll look at how far you can get and if you can beat Keep Climbing without ever touching the floor. Every great journey starts somewhere, and this one starts here, level 1. We can pretty easily get out and on top of the tent and get all the way to here just using trees and the danger sign. Unfortunately, once we get to here, to make room for these platforms, there are no more trees. So we're already in a pickle. Fortunately, by taking this very long and random detour, you can get to this tree, which will let you get out onto the edge and wall run across the edge of the map. This will be a very common thing used throughout this entire video, so be warned or something. Anyway, we can get here and wall bounce across these pillars. Then we can get back onto the wall and wall run here. But there's a problem. The hole. You see, we're on the edge of the map, and the hole is dead center in the map. So there's actually no way we're going to be able to jump to it. Sadly, the only tree that we can get on from the edge that's closer to the hole than the treehouse tree is this one. But there's literally nowhere to go from here. So we're going to have to get from the treehouse tree all the way to the hole without ever touching the ground. Thankfully, there's a line of trees that is just barely closely packed together to the point where you can get all the way to the hole. And by using a very difficult trick, aka barely moving forward in the corner, we can enter the next part of the level. We can wall run onto the edge of this wall and get to this part where we can do an insanely long corner shuffle. Seriously, this thing is so long, it is so difficult. Anyway, we can get to these platforms that are not floor and continue onwards. Once you get to this point, we can pretty easily jump onto this tree, but where are we possibly supposed to go? Thankfully, by jumping down into the previous section, we can barely catch ourselves by wall running, and then we can... I forgot my line. No! Thankfully, by jumping down to the previous section... Oh my god! Thankfully, we can jump down into the previous section and barely catch ourselves by wall running. Then we just wall run all the way to level 2. Level 2! Thankfully, this level is a breather. You can wall run down here and do a kinda difficult vertical onto this platform. Then you can just continue normally until about here. But thankfully, we're pretty much already done with the level. Because by doing a pretty hard and difficult skip called the dude skip, we can get onto this edge. Now normally you want to pinch climb all the way up and get on top, but we kind of can't touch the floor. Instead, we want to wall run down here and corner shuffle down here. Now onto level 3. Now the big question about this level is, are the ramps floor? I say no for one main reason. If you look at where the ramp and the floor meet, the floor is elevated slightly. Therefore, they're not technically connected, which means it's not floor. I win, you lose. Nah, 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 nah. Anyway, you want to wall run to the ramp and painfully don't go on your forehead like normal. Because if you go on your forehead, then you land on top and on the floor. And that's bad. So instead, you want to go on your butt and land on the wall. Or something. Then, you want to wall climb up here and slide down normally. Anyways, I'm going to skip through this next couple of bits because... this level's kind of boring, dude. Wall climb, tightrope climb, wall run, catch, walk, and we're here. This part's pretty easy, just do it like normal, but then you get to here. You can jump onto this tree and then walk down these platforms. Then, you'll wall run here and take a couple trees to here. Now this is one of the hardest parts in the entire run. You need to jump up just enough to where you don't fall off the edge, but enough so that you don't hit the ledge and die. And to make this part even worse, there's a barrier if you go far enough down. This is to stop you from just skipping from down here. Anyways, once you catch yourself on the edge, you have a series of difficult pinch climbs and wall runs until eventually you make it to the tightrope. Okay, we're here. You are waiting for this level since the very start, haven't you? Literally, a giant open plain with the only obstacles being the occasional rock and dead tree. How the heck are we gonna get these buttons that are literally in the middle? I think it's pretty easy to see how you can get to these things and then this bridge, but you can also wall run all the way down here and all the way down here to get into the cave where the last button is. Thankfully, there's no cactus up here, so you can just corner shuffle down here and pretty easily get the last button. But this is as far as we can go. There's just simply not enough obstacles. There's no way you can make any of these jumps. So that's it. We can't go any farther. Unless you get all the buttons beforehand. Nobody said I couldn't do that. There's no, like, official keep climbing speedrun. I stand corrected. Lucky for me, I looked at the guidelines, and there's nothing. Nobody can stop me. I win, you lose. That's 2-0, bro. Anyway, wall run down here, wall climb, wall bounce, and we're in level 5. Level 5 itself is easy enough. Wall run down here, and then vertical into the main level. And then, from here, it's really easy. You just wall bounce. I mean, it's what me and the noobs do normally. Anyway, the parkour course is pretty difficult, but nothing a simple vertical can't do. Now, this is where the hard part begins. The top. Now, the easiest way to get to the slide down to level 6 is the edge. And thankfully, there's all of these trees and all these rocks that can help you get to the edge to the slide. So this part should be really easy, right? Right? Wrong! Because for some unknown, stupid reason, every single rock and tree that lets you get to the edge has a freaking ring of air around it that prevents you from ever getting to it. I spent an hour and a half trying to find something until I ditched the edge plan and found out you can jump straight to the slide with this extremely long and difficult jump. And it's all because of these stupid rings of air that don't need to be here and exist for absolutely no reason. So level 6 is cool, right? There are these cool platforms, these cool crushers, and this tasty goo. But what I really like about this level is the lack of floor. It's like 85% platform and 10% floor. 5% falling at the end, but like, shut up. The beginning crusher part's the only main hard part about this level. You can get past the first two with these conveniently placed crates and wall bounce all the way to the first cutout. But we have a bit of a problem. In order to get to the next cutout, we have to completely sprint. Just book it. However, it's kind of impossible to sprint without ever touching the floor. So what the heck are we supposed to do now? Well, thankfully, this just so happens to be where the sword cosmetic is. So we can use that as a checkpoint. And then from there, you just run across this wooden thing into the cutout. And since you get a bit of leeway on this next one, you can just wall bounce. And then the rest of the level, it's just wall bouncing. Except for these little railings, but again, slightly elevated. That's 3-0. So now, we're on to level 7, and we're about to have an insane... Okay, before we continue, we need to skip level 7. This is because levels 8 through 10 are actually extremely easy for this challenge. Main reason being, since they're so difficult, they rely a lot less on filler, for example, walking on the floor. So we're gonna do these 3 first, and then do level 7 at the very end. Level 8 doesn't have any tricky parts until the end. You can get past literally every single instance of floor by wall bouncing. Now, this is the main hard part about the level. It's basically the hole from level 1, but in reverse. Thankfully, there's this really convenient skull, which we can use to get onto this crystal, and then wall run here. And then, we're onto level 9, where... Oh. Now, in order to get past this next section, you need to understand how glitching in your boundary works. So basically, when you use a teleporter, it teleports you to a very specific location. Let's just say right here. Except that's a complete lie. It actually teleports the center of your boundary, and then you relative to that. Most of the time, this doesn't matter at all because you should be on your center of boundary at all times. But if you reset your boundary and then move back a foot, you'll teleport a foot back from where you'd normally be. So by resetting your boundary and then walking in a very specific spot, you can spawn on the ladder. Then by going over here, we can do a couple of basic jumps and pretty much finish level 9. And level 10 literally doesn't have floor at all. I guess you could kind of make a case for the floating islands, but like not really. Like they're in the air, so that's like calling clouds lakes. It's just not, no. But with that out of the way, we're on to the last level. The thing about this level is that there's a wave that comes every now and then. Now with most of these levels, you can take your time, but with this level, we're under a time limit, which really complicates things. The first instance of floor in this level is right here, where we can just get from this rock to this trailer, all the way to this nuclear towered thing. But anyway, this will protect us from that stupid wave. Then we can jump onto here and use these obstacles to get to this board. And then you can make this really tight jump onto the next nuclear tower thing, which will again protect us from the wave. Then we take this yellow trailer and vertical onto this. Then we can traverse like normal up to here. But what do you do here? There's no way you're making any of these jumps, and you can't wall run here just because of the way the island's built. I've tried, it's impossible. But thankfully, if we go back to the yellow trailer, we can use this shortcut and get on the wall here. This lets you make this insanely difficult jump onto this big rock. Then we can get from the rock all the way to these pillars, all the way to the crate, to the tree, and finally keep climbing without ever touching the floor. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and even comment or check out my other videos if you want. But anyway, thank you for an awesome year. This most likely won't be the last video of the year, or it'll come out after the year ends. I have no idea. Anyways, I'm so excited for another year. But with that yap out of the way, goodbye.